Now. Jai Shri Krishna. Let us get started. It is already time. So today we are talking about Eka Sloki Gita, which you may not find a lot of reference, but I'll give you some references so you know. And Eka Sloki Gita, Bhagavad Gita has been said many ways by different people, and some of these Advait Vedanta Charyas, they have given their comments on Eksloki Gita. Before we start that, let us start our prayer. And this prayer for today is kind of a reflection of this Eksloki Gita by two people. Ishavasyam idam sarvam yatkinchan jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena bhunjitha magrad kasya svidadhanam. So basically, what it says is Almighty Lord is pervading everything in this world. So everything that you see, feel, taste, touch is nothing but Almighty Lord. And the second verse says, since everything is Almighty Lord, we have to make sure that we enjoy it. Bunjita means bogav. You have a right to enjoy everything created by God, but with very discriminative intellectual conviction. You have to use your vivek buddhi when you use everything in this world. That's basically what it says. So these two Ek Sloki Gita, the first one is by Ramana Maharshi. Ramana Maharshi's Ek-Sloki Gita kind of describes, Ramana Maharshi was a big one in Who Am I? If you read Ramana Maharshi's literature, listen to him, that's what he says. We have to know who we are. So that was his thing. Shankaracharya, again, an Advaitist, but his Ek-Sloki Gita, once you know who you are, then how to live the life. So that is what the Shankaracharya's Ek-Sloki Gita is. So let us look at the first one, Ek-Sloki Gita by Raman Maharshi. Now, when people ask Raman Maharshi that, Guruji, just give one verse from Bhagavad Gita that summarize the teachings of entire Bhagavad Gita. And at that time, Maharshi chose this particular verse from Bhagavad Gita. And this is the verse number 20 in chapter 10. So let me do this verse for you. And you all are very familiar because we have done the Bhagavad Gita teachings. Aham Atma Gudakesha Sarvabhutasthaya Stitaha Aham Adischa Madhyancha Bhutanam Anta Evacha. Four quarter of this particular verse, the first quarter, Aham Atma Gudakesha. Hey Arjun, I am the self. I am the pure consciousness. And then he says, where do I live? Sarva Bhuta Shayastitaha. I am the pure consciousness abiding or residing in all beings. Beautifully said by Raman Maharshi. Then Raman Maharshi goes on to say, Aham adischa madhyascha. I am the beginning of this universe. I am, so beginning the universe basically is I am the creator, because that's what who created the. I am the madhyancha. I am in the middle, the sustainer. And then the last quarter it says Bhuta Nam Ant Evacha, and the end of all beings. If you analyze this thing in a simple, I am the beginning, Brahma, the creator. He's talking about the supreme power, the creator power, but we call Brahma, you know. Then Vishnu, the middle part, the sustainer, and then Lord Shiva. So all these three devas are kind of included in this particular verse, and that is what Raman Maharshi said to his students when they asked him one verse for uh, Ek Sloki Gita. This particular verse is description. If we look into this Lord's Vibhuti, this is a 10th is a Vibhuti Yoga. And this particular verse, Bhagwan in the beginning, before he described all his vibhutis, he's making a bold statement that you are going to, hey Arjun, you are going to listen to all my vibhutis that are going to be coming up. But remember one thing, all the vibhutis, they are nothing but the Lord Himself. If we understand, Ramana Maharishi says, if we understand this particular verse very well, then we have no difficulty in understanding all the vibhutis described in this 10th chapter. This first verse describes the divine vibhuti or the alaukik parmarthik vibhuti of Lord. The rest of the world is considered as a laukik or vyavharik vibhuti. Again, it is the cause and effect relationship. If you look at it, the Almighty Lord being the creator, the rest of the world is the creation of the Lord. So this is again, Lord says, hey Arjuna, aham atma, I am the atma, the self, the pure consciousness, the spark of existence of all being. And where is his residence? He says, I stay in the hearts of all being. I stay as very self in every being. When somebody says myself, that is what they are talking about. What does this, somebody says, I myself means? Because people that are students of Vedanta, those who understand Vedanta, when you say myself, it means the I, the capital I. And that I in every one of us is nothing but Almighty Lord Himself present in us. Every one of us is experiencing that I. And that I is me. When we say me, I, that is a Lord. So try to recognize this I, the pure consciousness, the Bhagwan, the Lord, whatever you can, within yourself. When we inquire this nature of I, it is nothing but Sakshat Bhagwan. This is something that we have to very clearly understand. In the Vyavaharik use, in the daily, in the worldly manner, somebody says, who are you? The person says, I am so and so. So I am is the pure consciousness. So and so is nothing but superimposition on this pure consciousness. So when we say I am so and so, this so and so is nothing but wrong notion of our mind. We have to understand this thing. Wrong notions means khoti dharna, khoto khyal, Brahma. Brahma means not Brahma, Brahma, illusion. When we say so and so, that is an illusory description of our. The truth is, I am that part. It is a purest form, pure consciousness, and pure state of being. The question is now, how does this I am pure consciousness or pure state of being or the spark of existence gets polluted? And this is in Advaita Vedanta, it is called superimposition. In Vedanta, we get this very frequently the example of a rope and a snake. So rope is the only existence, but because of our ignorance in a very limited lighted area, we see that as snake, we get frightened. But if you get the light in that area, the soap, the snake disappears. In other words, the snake was never there. The snake khyal or the snake idea was a superimposition on the rope. So only thing that existed was rope. So they say, what is this proof of that thing? Now we have studied this thing because when we studied the Tattva Bodha, we did study this thing, three states of being, the waking, the dream, and the deep sleep state. In our deep sleep, everything worldly goes away. Why? Because our physical body is not functioning. Our subtle body, one is a sthul sharira, one is a sukshma sharira. So the physical body and the subtle body both are not functioning. So we in deep sleep are completely connected to the Atman or a pure consciousness. So the goal of the life is God realization, which is nothing but knowing myself. I am is awareness, pure consciousness, the self, or the spark of this existence. So Raman Maharshi, he tries to simplify this thing. How do you practice this thing in a everyday, ordinary, day-to-day living? And Maharshi says, somebody says, how are you doing? And I say, you know what? I'm worried. Then Maharshi says, don't stop there. Ask the next question. This worry, who is worried? Where does this worry belong to? And who is this individual to whom this worry belongs to? And immediately say, you know what? That is in my mind. Now we already learned that we are not body, we are not mind, we are not intellect, we are not ego. So this worry, So this is how one is called idam vritti. Idam is this worldly, everything in the world is called idam vritti. We have to move from idam vritti to aham vritti. Come to Atman, the I. And when we come to that aham vritti, that is still a vritti. It is still a modification. But once we get to this aham vritti, which is sattvic mind, the mind that is not being disturbed a lot and mind that is focused, and then from there, we have to really let this vritti go. And then you are in a pure state of being. So, in other words, the God's existence I have misunderstood as my existence. I consider myself as a BMI, but in reality, I do not exist as a BMI. What exists in reality is the Atman or the pure consciousness. The pure, the body is here, body was there before, and body will be also gone. So body has a past, the present, and the future. What is something that is continuous? It is a consciousness. The pure consciousness can never be non-existent. That is what we have to understand, the pure consciousness. This second quarter of this verse, Gudakesh, Almighty Lord, in this particular verse addresses Arjuna as a Gudakesh for a particular reason. Gudaka Ish. Ish means the controller or the in charge of. Gudaka means the sleep. The one who has conquered the sleep is a Gudakesh. So to get to this level, now what is a sleep? Basically, if you look at the sleep, in here they describe as a tamas and rajas both, because both of those are impurities. So one who has gone beyond the impurities and has developed a sattvic mind is Gudakesh. Everyone is searching for God outside. We all do. God says, I am sitting within you. Why, if this is something that we are learning and trying to understand, why is it so difficult to follow this path? And by not knowing who we are suffering. We have mentioned this previously, and I'll mention one more time. The root cause, this is a Vedantic, powerful Vedantic statement. The root cause of every suffering is ignorance. Ignorance is avidya. Now, somebody say, but ignorance about what? If I'm a doctor, I don't have the ignorance about medicine. If there is an accountant, he doesn't have the ignorance about the accounting field. If he's an engineer, he doesn't have the ignorance about the engineering department information. This is the ignorance about who we are. So this particular ignorance that we are talking about, the root cause of suffering, is not knowing who we are. So if you look at the impurities in Jivatma or a human being, and if you try to classify those impurity, the main impurity or the malinata is our ignorance. That is the ignorance is the main impurity that we have. Now, how does this lead to our fall? Because suffering is nothing but, we are falling down from being Paramatma to Jivatma to ordinary human being and suffer. When we do not know who we are, the ignorance, when we do not know the rope, we get the illusory feeling of snake. And all the problems that snake can cause, they become our problem. So in Vedantic terminology, it's called non-apprehension of our true self. Potana vishe ansamaj. That is ajnan. Now what that ignorance leads to is the rope is there, but we saw the snake. So what is this seeing the snake? We are seeing it. It's misapprehension of the self. જે સાચી વસ્તુ છે એ વસ્તુ વિશેની ગેરસમજ. When we are pure consciousness, when we are Atman, when we don't know who we are, we get this illusory wrong notion or a wrong identification of ourselves. I'm Ishwar Patel, I'm a doctor, I live in such and such place, I am this height, I'm this much weight. This is all upadhi on that pure consciousness. So, and this wrong identification, I want to make very clear, is nothing but ego. Not knowing, that is ego, wrong identification of yourself. Sometimes people say, if somebody koi ghamandi hoy ka to bo egoistic manas hai, that is not really true ego. What Vedanta says ego is not understanding truly who you are. So now once we don't know who we are, pure consciousness, Atman, the next, as I said, it makes you think that you are BMI, because that is what we see, what we feel, what we touch, and what we deal with every time. So we consider ourselves as a body, mind, and intellect. Now, Paramatma is a Purnata. Consciousness is vast, Ananta. All of a sudden, we become the body, mind, intellects. So now there's a duality. I have my body and intellect, and there are thousands, hundreds, and millions of body and intellects are around. So I feel myself very limited, and I feel the threat of existence. So I want to really exist, and so I see the entire world as my competition. So when I want to get something or do anything, everyone I see as a competition. Now, when you feel yourself incomplete, apurna, alpa, you try to become full or a complete. So now, because we are considered BMI, because we have this alpata feeling or a limitation of our existence, we compete with the other people, trying to, now when we say I want to be complete in terms of wealth, complete in terms of health, complete in terms of everything, because that is all we see around us is a material thing. So we go after things to acquire in competition with other human being. Now, so what happens now? We go to action because we feel alpa, we feel limited, we want to become limitless, we want to have more, so we start working to get more. Now, this is where the problem starts. Because we consider ourselves different from other, There are people that we like, those who go along with us, those that are profitable to us. So there is a like there are people in the business, they're our competitor. We hate them because they are stealing the. So Dvaita, Raga Dvesha is the other impurity that happens to us. When we act in this world with the selfish desires, remember, desires is to do fulfillment because we feel ourselves incomplete. For becoming complete, we compete with the people, we go to work, and we work with raga dvesha. All the dualities are part of this. And with the dislike, with the likes and dislike as a duality, we start with the desire to become complete. Now now the secondary impurity from the primary impurity of who we are, we don't know. Now the secondary impurity comes, desires, because we want to get more. When we cannot fulfill our desires, somebody is obstructing, we get very angry because that's coming in the way. If we get our desire fulfilled, we want to get more, we get greedy. That is another problem. Now, when we get angry, if you look at the second chapter, there's a ladder of fall. Everything is described in here. In other words, we work in this world with selfish desires, or we work in a selfish manner. Selfish manner is also considered egoistic manner. Why egoistic? Because we consider ourselves body, mind, intellect. So, not knowing our true self, we perform all the egoistic activity. Bhagavad Gita says, when you perform the karma that are as a selfish or egocentric, you accumulate karma naturally. All this karma that you accumulate, it stays in your subconscious mind or as a chittamala. This is an impurity of the mind. So now, when person dies, his physical body goes to cremation, but his subtle body, with all this sanchita karma, not of this lifetime, but previous lifetimes karma, we carry from this to the other. Because this karma that we have accumulated, it needs an exhaustion. The only way to exhaust, the karmas were created by producing action. So for exhausting the karma, you need another body. So now this is how the sansar continues. We enter the cycle of life and death. Instead, the karma yogi performs karma totally differently. He does not accumulate any such sanchit karma. In fact, his actions are so selfless and God-centered that even his existing karmas also gets reduced. When the sanchit karma load goes to zero, that is called moksha, liberation. And that is a state that we are talking about. The again, once again, ignorance of not ignorance is non-apprehension of the rope, misunderstanding of the snake. That is in the worldly example. Now look at this thing as the other example or paramarthic way of looking at it. Non-apprehension of a Brahman. Brahman is totality of the consciousness. Non-apprehension of the Brahman makes us misapprehension of this entire world of things and being. When we do not understand the Brahman properly, we get an illusory feeling And that illusory feeling, we see it, we feel it, but that is entire Jagat. So that is basically what it is. Going back a little bit to the cause and effect relationship, cause is called Upadhi, and effect is called the product. The Upadhi is also called Adhisthan. It is also called a Muladhar or a substratum, which is a Brahman. Now, in the this cause and effect, it happens in three different ways. One is called theory of emergence. I'll give you an example so it will be very clear. Hydrogen, two molecules plus oxygen makes water. So the water has no property of oxygen, no property of hydrogen. It is a completely a new product, and that is new emergence or Arambhavad. The other one is the transformation. Now, this we all understand. You take a piece of gold, go to the goldsmith and say, make a ring out of this, or make a bangdi out of this thing, and he will make it. Gold transformed into the ornaments. Clay transformed into the pot. Every part of this ornament has gold as an identification or as a muladhar or as a substratum. Every part of that jug or a pot has clay everywhere in there. So now Vedanta is not really believing in these two things. Vedanta says is called Vivartavad. First one was Arambhavad. The second one was a Parinamvad. Vedanta says Vivarta. Vivarta means an illusion, Brahma. He says this Atma and Jivatma. So Brahma is, when misunderstood, it is Jagat. When Atma looks like as Jivatma, the Vivart means Bhasit Thamu, Fakta Dekhavu. Now, these examples, we mentioned these Vivartavad examples, two of them that you're very familiar with, the rope and snake. The rope and snake, the rope does not become snake. Rope just looks as a snake, Bhasit. એ દેખાય છે. વાસ્તવમાં there is no transformation, there is no new beginning. This is just an illusory feeling. That's number one. The number two is in the desert, you look at the sand and you see water. So this heat kind of raises up and looks as a water. So that sand does not really transform into water. It looks as a water. So it is a Brahm. It is an illusion. And that is what we are talking about. So in the Adhisthan is Brahma, Adhyarop, એને ઢાંકી દેનારા તત્વ, શરીર, મન, બુદ્ધિ અને everything else in the world. So બ્રહ્મની ઉપર જે ઢાંકી દેનાર છે, આ જગત છે, એ બ્રહ્મને ઢાંકી દે છે. બ્રહ્મ or તો બ્રહ્મ વિશે આપણને ખોટી ધારણા કરાવે છે. So the cause remains the same, but it looks different. So basically what this is, Jivatma is nothing but contaminated. Jivatma is nothing but contaminated Paramatma. Contaminated by what? Ignorance. Contaminated by what? Impure mind. If you look at, go down the, so. Now, knowing who we are, Jagat Guru Shankaracharya, he gave us this one more verse called Eka Sloki Gita. And that is talking about once you know who you are a pure consciousness, you are Atman. How to live the life is what Jagadguru Shankaracharya his. And his verse is chapter 11, the last verse, number 55. We will, chant mat karma krut mat parmo mad bhakta sanga varjitah nirvaira sarva bhuteshu yas mam eti pandavah. Mat karma krut mat parmo, those dedicated to me and focused on me. Remember, Ramana Maharshi says, who you are. Now we know who we are. So now, once we know who you are, those dedicated to me, focused on me, Mad Bhakta, devoted to me, Sang Varjita and Nirvairya. Sang Varjita and Nirvairya is actually without rag and dvesh, without this duality. Towards whom? Sarva Bhuteshu, free from ragadvesh towards all being. And then the last one is a powerful statement. Lord says, Yes, mam eti pandavaha. Hey Arjuna, that particular bhakta individual reaches to me. Now, this is the last verse of chapter 11. This Sunday, starting in Manas Seva Mandir, we are going to have Bhagavad Gita chapter 12 by Swami Aparajit Nanda from Chinmaya Mission. Do not miss this thing. When Arjuna was told this thing in the last verse of chapter 11, Hey Arjun, dedicated to me, focused on me, devoted to me without raga dvesh, gets me. So now the Arjuna is all of a sudden bombarded with the question. So if this is the way to get to you, Prabhu, how do I become the best devotee of yours? So entire 12th chapter is the Arjun's questions. Sagun better, Nirgun better, and who is a better devotee, and what are the characteristics of a good devotee. That is the entire chapter. Will be learning starting this Sunday. Please do not miss thing. You will be amazed how good he is. Those who have listened to him, I see Kanchan Bhai, Gita Ben, and few other people, they have listened to him, and I've been following him for last 5 years. Amazing personality. He's going to talk in English, very simple. He's talks so slowly, so you don't really miss out anything. So now let's talk about this verse a little bit. Bhagwan gave Arjuna Vishwarupa Darshan, and because of his single pointed devotion, Ananya Bhakti, talked about Ananya Bhakti. Now Arjuna says, how to live life and become one with the God. This is what Arjuna's question. Arjuna's question starts with the first verse of, first and second verse of chapter 12, and then 18 verses are by Lord Krishna, the answer. A God-central life, God-centered, keeping Bhagwanji in the center of everything. A God-centered life is described such a person. So a person who has a God-centered life, he has given four or five things. Pointers. Number one, he says, Mat karma krut, one who perform all his actions for me. Bhagwanji, karma krut, mara mate, mat karma krut, right? Number one. Number two, mat parama, one who considered Bhagwan as a param. Param means the highest, supreme. Bhagwan as the highest goal of life. That is number two. Mad Bhakta, full of devotion. Now I want you to also think a little differently now. One, two, and three things. First one is Mad Karma Krut. How do we do karma? Through our body. So in the first pointer, he's talking about karma yoga, mat karma krut. Do all the actions for me. That is a karma yoga. Second one is mat param. Consider me as your highest goal. God is our highest goal. How do we get that? That is through our intellect. So, body, so this represents the intellect. Then he says, Mad Bhaktaha, be my devotee. Devotion. Devotion is an emotion, it is an emotion of a heart. So, if you look at this thing, the first pointer describes the hand, the second pointer describes the head, and the third pointer is heart. A person who works with head, with the hands, head and heart for Almighty Lord becomes his Parama Bhakta. Very, very nicely said by Lord Krishna. Then a fourth pointer is Sangvarjita, free from attachment towards the world. That's a Sangvarjita. Sang means attachment, Varjit means free, free of attachment. Sangvarjita. And then he says, Nirvera Saiva, Nirver, Verbhav Rahit, freedom from hatred to all being. And then Lord says, one who practices all these five things reaches to me. So what is Bhagavan telling about? You have to live, Arjuna. You have to live a life. You have to live a life of a Vyavharik person. You are a Jivatma. But he says that your Vyavhar should be dharmic and not adharmic. Very first thing he tells Arjuna, everything has to be dharmic in your life. Everything has to be value based. We say when we say Vivek and Vairagya, what is eternal, what is destructible, and all these things we talked about. Valuing Bhagwanji as the highest through your intellect, and at a mind level, you surrender or you become the devotees of Lord. At three aspects of our personality, we are an individual with four different personality. I think I mentioned to you before. We are Om, we are pure consciousness, that is our spiritual personality. Then we are at the Vyavharik level, we are body, mind, and intellect. So at a body level, we have a physical personality. Oh, this person is tall, this person is good looking, this person is Astavakra, bad looking guy. That is physical personality. Then the intellectual personality. Intellectual personality is our values. This person is honest. This person is ethical. This person, so that is the intellectual personality. And the fourth one is mental personality, or the mind. Mind is, I like this, I don't like this, I hate this, I like that person, and so it's all at the emotional level. So with the BMI, we interact with this outer world with an attitude. So first three part of this, or first three pointers, it says with your BMI you interact with the world, but with what attitude you interact with the world. Fourth and fifth says Sangvarjita, and Nirvaira, without rag and dvest. And same thing in the second chapter, Narsi Mehta has said, Samadrashti ne trishna tyagi parastri je ne matre. Samadrashti. In second chapter, also Lord has told Krishna, hey Arjun, for a karma yogi, samatvam yoga uchate. Samata for everybody. No raga, no dvesh, no love, no loss. Everything is a samata. So how do we get this thing? The best way to practice this thing is by following what our Vedas has said. Vedas is Bhagwan's Vani. Sramana, Manana, Nididhyasana. Through the satsang, we heard all this different discussion. Then once we hear, we have all kind of doubts. Is this really true? Does this really make sense? And that is manana. You contemplate on this thing. You put all kind of arguments back and forth. You find every kind of uh, answers from our scriptures why this thing is true, and then at the end of manan you get conviction. So that is the second manan, conviction. First one is, sanshay vishay, may or may not be, but then you get convicted. Once you get conviction, then stabilization. You stay on that path. God alone, we know that God alone is permanent, rest is impermanent. So Vivek says, stick to the permanent one. Lord is real, everything else is illusory. Brahm. Lord is the only existence, everything else has a borrowed existence. When we choose God, we choose liberation. When we choose world, we choose bondage because we do the karma, selfish karmas. And the liberation is very simply this. Liberation means nothing but freedom from suffering in the life. If somebody has a tranquil mind, peaceful mind, and Sachidanand, pure bliss, that person is liberated. So this is basically uh, what we are talking about, and I think very limited time left. So if somebody has any questions, or if Kanchan Bhai wants to add few words in this thing, I think there will be a very good thing. Kanchan Bhai, please come on in and give us some extra ideas and knowledge, please.
Well, you have discussed a few verses which are very important. For one day, Shankaracharya was asked, all this, so many Vedas and so many Upanishads, can you tell me what is the essence of that one? So he got one, Eka Sloki Gita, he says. He makes simple sentence. I won't tell you whole verse, tell you half verse, and tell you the whole meaning of what Vedanta is trying to tell you. Brahma Satya Jagat Mithya Jivo Ishvara No Para. That's what he said. Brahman is the truth. The question is, what is Satya? What is real? Remember we studied last week the other book, Tattva Bodha. What did it say? What is real? Real thing, everything is real. Nothing is real except Brahma. Ekam Satya. The definition of real is the only thing is real is the Brahman, everything else is unreal. So that's the first statement he made. Brahma Satya, Jagat Mithya. Now, Jagat Mithya, how do you say Jagat Mithya? So what is the Mithya? You already defined Mithya before, right? So once you get what is Satya, what is your Vivek, first comes Vivek. If Vivek not there, if you don't realize between real and unreal, you're not gonna go step two. As long as you're stuck in this world, is real, your body is real, I am the body, you are stuck. You cannot get out this vicious cycle of life. If you see what you see is real, and my body is real, and I'm the body, that's the first step we are stuck, and we are not out of that stuck yet. So I think Bhagavan says in chapter 18, Nahi deha krut sakyam Tokta karma karmana sheshatah yastu karma phalatyagi satyagi tya abhidere. As long as you have body identification, you'll never quit. You'll never be able to quit the work. You'll never be able to you will be able, not be able to stop working, neither will you quit working, neither will you lose attachment. So only thing you could do is continue working. Yat karoshi, yat sanasi, yat jivosya darashi, yat tat tapasya kanteya, tat krishna vadarpam. You work, but give it to me. That is the essence of that one. If you don't give it to me, you will stuck. You're stuck in first step only. I am the body. So first body identification has to go. So Brahma Satya, Jagat Mithya. Jagat, second part is Jagat Mithya. How do you prove this world is unreal? So you see really, right? That to get rid of that unrealness is really hard. Forget first one is I cannot get rid of my body identification. Next thing, I cannot get rid of the world reality. So that is second step we are stuck on. To prove that one, I think Mandukya Upanishad said whole chapter, second chapter on to untruthness of the world. And the last verse of that chapter tells us
Is it Mandukya Karika?
Karika. Second chapter deals with the unreality of the world.
Okay.
The second part of it, Jagat Mithya. How to get Jagat Mithya? Having known this truth internally, within the body, as well as the truth externally, outside the world, he becomes one with reality. Unless you see the body, God is in me. That's first thing you have to get over. I'm not the body, God is in me. And God is in the world too. And both are equal. When you see both of them equal, then they'll be able to live the reality and function in this world with really. Even though you are Tattvagnani, you don't die. You still work on it. So the third part was Jiva Ishvara no para. So you have to now identify yourself with Ishvara. Unless you identify yourself, you are the Brahman or you are the Jivatma, you won't be able to find God. God cannot be seen. There's another obstacle we have. Unseen structure we are talking about, which is cannot be defined, could not be seen, could not identify. So how you can identify yourself, which you don't identify yourself first, with something which is not identifiable. So our third step we are stuck with. So all the three levels are stuck. So only thing this will be obtained by meditation. All this thing only by Gnan. So Bhakti works, Karma Yoga works, but only thing works to get over these three obstacles is meditation and knowing yourself. And that happens during deep sleep. So if something has happened in deep sleep, it could be possible to do in real life too. So you have to create your stage, your mind stays such a way you are awake, alert, working this world, still not identifying with your body and not getting the reality to the world. Yes, world is real, but don't give it to reality. Don't neglect the world. Don't turn your body face away from the worldly problems. Just face it, but don't give reality to it. This is my essence of Brahma Satya Jagat Mithya Java Ishvara no. If you get this one, I think all the Upanishads were trying to tell you, this is what he's trying to tell you. This is my way of looking at it. But there are so many Gitas are given, which there are 4 Sloki, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavata available, 1 Sloki, 2 Sloki. All of them trying to tell you all the 3 level obstruction we are having. Called Granthi, 3 Granthi, 3 knot. To get rid of the knots, we have to really go to realization. And that is possible, but not in our reach, to me at least. Okay, that's my way of looking at Eka Sloki Gita. This one is so many people have Eka Sloki Gita. But this is one of the Shankaracharya's best sentence.
Thank you, Kanchan Bhai.
Thank you.
So one more thing, I mentioned to you before Kanchan Bhai joined that I forgot to turn the recording on last time and did not have that Gita Pancharatna tape available. But there's a good news to this side too. Guruji Aparajit Nanda, he did 5 lectures on Gita Pancharatna very recently, and Chinmaya Mission has taken a step further and printed that Gita Pancharatna and is now print available. So I requested them to bring these books, Gita Pancharatna, at this Sunday's through Fridays, those 6 days session. So that book will be available, and fortunately, they have kept a very, very minimum price. I think it's $2 or $3. It is going to be one thing that you got to have in your library, because if if anything at all, if from entire Bhagavad Gita, if you want to chant and remember only 5 slokas, then there is Gita Pancharatna or Panchamrit, and the detailed discussion of Swamiji's this discourse has been explained in this Gita Pancharatna. So when you come in, they will bring these books, and there will be a little desk where they will be selling these books. So please, take the advantage of this particular thing, and don't miss the opportunity to come and join this wonderful discourse. It took 1 year for me to get Swamiji in Manaswaya Mandir. I asked him last July, what is the date available? And he says August of 2026. So as soon as this discourse is over, I before the discourse is over, I asked him, Swamiji, can you give me one more date for 1 week? And Swamiji, he kind of laughed and he said, Ishwara, let the devotees of Manav Seva Mandir hear me out. And if they have a strong, deep desire to listen to me again, I will give you the date. But let us, because this is only a 1 week away, and not even a week away, it's 3 days away. He says, so, once you hear the Swamiji, let me know if you like to have him come in next year. He will be more than happy to come. And I am blessed to have known Swamiji personally and be familiar with his teachings.
Mm. So 5 to 6 something tea time, and 6 to 7.
6 to 7 will be refreshment, and there will be some food available too. But it's limited, like 2 items. So those who come straight from work, we want to make sure that
No, but the discourses are
what is that?
the પ્રવચન ક્યારે છે? પ્રવચન કેટલા વાગે?
That's so 6 to 7 is light lunch and light dinner and refreshment. 7 to 8:30 continuous non-stop pravachan.
Okay, 7 to 8:30. Okay.
7 to 8:30, absolutely.
Okay, so if he comes 7 is fine. Yeah.
Come at 7, perfectly all right. But if you want to take the advantage and if you want to have something to eat, you can come and join for that too.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay.
All right. So, and unfortunately, next Wednesday we will be listening to Swamiji and not Ishwar Bhai. So I'm going to be taking a break next Wednesday. And I hope all of you are there listening to Swamiji and not me. And then 2 weeks from now, I will take a topic, and then we'll start. I think very soon we are ready to start the Bhagavad Gita again in English. So we'll talk about that. We'll do the prayers and we'll depart. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Hari Om, Jai Shri Krishna.
Hari Om, Sarvane Jai Shri Krishna.
All right. Have a good night. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Good night.